Trump and Musk built a temple, and nobody knows why. For decades, America has been a land of religious diversity, political debates, and technological revolutions. But what happens when all three collide? What if I told you that former US President Donald Trump and billionaire Elon Musk have secretly joined forces to build a massive religious temple? A structure so ambitious, so controversial, that even the Vatican and the US government have tried to stop it. Some call it a place of worship. Others believe it's a political stunt. And some conspiracy theorists are convinced it's a mind control center for the elites. But here's the craziest part. No one truly knows what's inside. At first, this might sound like another internet hoax, a wild story designed to grab headlines. But as I dug deeper, I found something much more bizarre and much more real. The first whispers about the Trump-Musk temple started in early 2024. At the time, Donald Trump was preparing for another presidential campaign, rallying his most loyal supporters and reigniting his message of making America great again. Elon Musk, on the other hand, had been busy expanding his empire, running Tesla, SpaceX, X, formerly Twitter, and Neuralink. He had always been vocal about free speech, artificial intelligence, and space colonization. But one topic he had rarely touched? Religion. That's why, when a series of leaked documents surfaced online, showing land purchases in rural Texas linked to both Musk's and Trump's organizations, people started asking questions. The land, covering over 10,000 acres, was registered under a newly formed entity, the American Renewal Project. At first, it seemed like just another real estate deal, until satellite images revealed something shocking. By mid-2024, drones captured images of massive construction projects happening in the middle of the Texas desert. The architecture was unlike anything seen before. A giant, gold-plated dome was being assembled, surrounded by a sleek, futuristic complex. Some described it as looking like a cross between the U.S. Capitol and a SpaceX launch facility. Local officials were tight-lipped. Construction workers refused to answer questions. And when reporters tried to investigate, they were met with silence or outright hostility. Even stranger, sources close to Trump's campaign hinted that this wasn't just a random project. It was something bigger, something spiritual. Then, the biggest clue dropped. During a rally in Florida, Trump made a bizarre statement that left many confused. We are building something truly special. Something that will bring back faith, strength, and power to this great nation. And let me tell you, when you see it, you will understand. We're making history, folks. Believe me, that was it. No details, no follow-up. But online forums exploded with speculation. Was Trump talking about a new political headquarters? A megachurch? A hidden retreat for billionaires? And where did Musk fit into all of this? Unlike Trump, Elon Musk didn't make any public statements about the project. But his companies, particularly the Boring Company and Tesla Energy, were linked to the construction site. Reports indicated that underground tunnels were being built beneath the complex, allegedly for transportation and energy storage. Some believed Musk was involved for purely technological reasons, providing solar energy, AI integration, and advanced infrastructure. But a single tweet from Musk sent speculation into overdrive. Humanity needs a place to reflect, learn, and prepare for the future. No context, no explanation. But when someone asked if he was referring to the secret temple, Musk simply replied with a winking emoji. That was all it took. Theories exploded across the internet. Was Musk using this project to test a new AI-driven religious movement? Was Trump trying to create his own spiritual empire? Or was this a joint effort to reshape America's religious landscape? One thing was certain, the temple was real, and something big was happening. As more information leaked, backlash started pouring in. Religious leaders denounced the project, claiming it was an attempt to mix politics, technology, and faith in a dangerous way. Some Christian groups accused Musk of trying to play God, while political critics called it a new form of propaganda. But nothing could prepare the world for what happened next. Because when the first official images of the temple were released, the reaction was immediate. And what they revealed shocked the world. The rumors had been circulating for months. The satellite images, the secret land purchases, the cryptic statements from Trump and Musk, everything pointed towards something big happening in the Texas desert. But no one was prepared for what came next. In October 2024, after months of speculation, the first official images of the Trump-Musk temple were released to the public, and they were unlike anything anyone expected. The photos showed a massive golden dome, reflecting the sun like a beacon. Around it, towering white pillars stretched into the sky, engraved with symbols that no one could immediately recognize. The entrance, a 50-foot archway with the words "Faith in the Future" carved in bold letters. The main hall, a vast, cathedral-like space with walls lined with digital screens, displaying quotes from historical figures, religious texts, and, most notably, Trump and Musk themselves. One phrase stood out: "The greatest civilizations are built on faith, vision, and bold action." At first glance, the temple looked like a fusion of classical religious architecture and high-tech futurism. Some compared it to the Vatican, others to Apple's headquarters. But one detail stood out above everything else. At the center of the main hall, directly beneath the golden dome, stood a massive 20-foot statue. It wasn't Jesus. It wasn't Moses. It wasn't Buddha. It was a hybrid figure, half Trump, half Musk. The statue's left side bore the distinct suit and hairstyle of Trump, while the right side had the futuristic, minimalist look often associated with Musk. One arm was raised in a presidential gesture. The other held a tablet, displaying what appeared to be Tesla schematics and handwritten notes. For many, this was the final confirmation. This wasn't just a place of worship. It was something else entirely. The images spread across the internet like wildfire. Religious leaders were furious. Political commentators were stunned. Social media exploded with debate. Some called it a temple of ego. Others saw it as the beginning of a new movement. The Vatican released an official statement, calling the temple a misguided attempt to merge power, technology, and faith. Evangelical leaders in the U.S. were split. Some supported Trump's vision of restoring faith in America, while others saw it as blasphemy. Musk's fans were equally divided. Many saw this as an ironic joke, a typical Musk-style stunt. But others believed he was serious, that he and Trump were truly trying to create a new kind of spiritual awakening. Within days of the images being released, protests erupted across the country. In New York, thousands of people gathered outside Trump Tower, chanting "No Golden Idols." In Los Angeles, a group of activists staged a demonstration outside Tesla headquarters, demanding Musk stop promoting a political cult. In Texas, however, crowds of Trump supporters and Musk enthusiasts traveled to the temple site, treating it as a pilgrimage destination. Tensions escalated when a group of protesters attempted to enter the construction site. Security forces responded, and multiple arrests were made. As the controversy grew, one question remained unanswered. Was it a spiritual center meant to unite faith and innovation? A political monument designed to solidify Trump's influence? A billionaire-funded experiment in controlling public perception? Or something even bigger, the first step toward a new global movement? As reporters tried to get answers, one name kept coming up. A man who had been working behind the scenes, shaping the temple's philosophy and mission. A man who, according to insiders, had convinced both Trump and Musk to move forward with this project. A man whose identity would soon change everything. The backlash was immediate. Within hours of the temple images being released, news networks across the world were running non-stop coverage. CNN called it the most bizarre political stunt in modern history. Fox News framed it as a bold move to restore faith in American values. Social media was completely divided. Some saw it as a step toward a new cultural revolution, while others dismissed it as pure narcissism. Inside political circles, the reactions were even more intense. Several U.S. senators publicly condemned the project, calling it a dangerous fusion of religion, politics, and unchecked power. The White House issued a carefully worded statement, distancing itself from the temple and emphasizing that it had no government affiliation. The United Nations even scheduled an emergency discussion after concerns were raised about the global impact of a religious site backed by two of the world's most powerful men. But while politicians and religious leaders debated, something unexpected happened. People started traveling to Texas. At first, it was just a handful of curious visitors. But within a week, thousands had arrived, eager to see the temple with their own eyes. The roads leading to the site became congested with cars, RVs, and even makeshift tents as more and more people gathered. Some were believers, convinced that this was the beginning of something historic. Others were skeptics, journalists, and influencers, hoping to be the first to expose what was really happening. The Trump campaign wasted no time. Seeing the influx of supporters, they set up booths selling merchandise, with banners reading "Faith in the Future" and "America's New Awakening." Red hats with the temple's emblem were everywhere. Free copies of a book titled "The Vision, Trump, Musk, and the Future of Faith" were being handed out. Elon Musk, on the other hand, remained mostly silent. He had not made a single official statement about the temple since the images were released, fueling even more speculation. Some of his closest allies suggested that he was having second thoughts about his involvement, especially after seeing how politicized the project had become. Others believed that he was simply waiting for the right moment to reveal his true intentions. Then, just as the tension reached its peak, a mysterious document was leaked online. A 32-page manifesto, allegedly written by the temple's chief architect, outlining the true purpose of the project. The document contained sections discussing a new age of enlightenment, the merging of faith and artificial intelligence, and preparing humanity for a post-religious society. It also included several references to an underground facility beneath the temple, which had not been mentioned in any official statements. Within minutes of the leak, the internet exploded. Conspiracy theorists had a field day. Some claimed the temple was a front for an AI-driven religious movement. Others insisted it was part of a secret plan to influence future elections. The most extreme theories suggested that the underground complex was connected to Neuralink, allowing for experiments in human consciousness. As chaos spread, Trump took the stage at a surprise rally near the temple. Standing before thousands of supporters, he addressed the controversy head-on. "They're afraid, folks. The elites, the media, the corrupt politicians, they don't want you to think for yourselves. They don't want you to have faith, to have strength, to believe in something greater. That's why they attack this project. That's why they attack me. But guess what? We're not stopping. We're just getting started." The crowd erupted in cheers. But while Trump doubled down, Musk still said nothing. Then, late that night, he finally broke his silence with a single cryptic post on X. If they knew the full story, they'd be even more afraid. No one knew exactly what he meant, but they were about to find out. The tension surrounding the temple had reached a boiling point. Protesters and supporters clashed outside the site. News channels ran endless debates about its meaning, and the leaked manifesto had only added fuel to the fire. But despite the controversy, one thing was clear: something was happening inside the temple that no one fully understood. Then came the first reports of restricted access zones within the complex. Journalists who had been granted entry found that many areas were completely off-limits. Security guards, some reportedly former military, stood watch over entrances leading underground. Questions about these areas were met with silence or vague responses. Even more suspicious was the fact that Tesla engineers and Neuralink researchers had been spotted entering the facility. Officially, the temple was meant to be a spiritual and cultural center, not a technological hub. So why were some of the brightest minds in AI, brain-computer interfaces, and energy infrastructure involved? Musk's silence only deepened the mystery. For a man who tweeted about nearly everything, his refusal to comment on the temple beyond a few vague posts was unusual. But then, seemingly out of nowhere, he announced a public event. A week later, in front of a carefully selected audience inside the temple's main hall, Musk took the stage. Cameras were rolling, and millions of people tuned in live. For centuries, religion and science have been at odds. Faith and reason, belief and knowledge, people have always seen them as separate forces. But what if they weren't? What if the greatest breakthroughs in history came from their union? He paused, looking over the crowd. That's why we built this place. Not just as a symbol, but as a step forward. Humanity is reaching a point where we can understand more than ever before. This temple is not just about worship, it's about exploration, about discovering the next stage of human potential. The audience applauded, but the vagueness of his words only raised more questions. What exactly did he mean by the next stage of human potential? Then, without warning, Musk turned to a screen behind him. A pre-recorded video began to play. The footage showed a sleek, high-tech chamber deep within the temple's underground section. Inside, a group of individuals sat in specially designed chairs, wearing Neuralink headsets. The caption on the screen read, "The first participants." The audience murmured. Reporters frantically typed on their phones. What were they watching? Musk continued, "The human mind is the last great frontier. We've spent centuries looking outward, conquering lands, exploring space. But now, it's time to look inward. This facility is where we begin. Some gasped, others cheered. Trump, who had been sitting off to the side, finally took the microphone. Look, folks, I told you this would be big. This is the future. Faith, technology, strength, all coming together. Some people don't want us to do this. They're scared, but we're not stopping. We are leading the world into something amazing. As applause filled the room, the live broadcast was suddenly cut off. Screens went black. The feed was gone. Within seconds, speculation exploded online. Did the government intervene? Was this a technical failure? Or had Musk and Trump deliberately left the world with more questions than answers? The temple was no longer just a controversial building. It was now at the center of one of the biggest mysteries of modern times. And the more people tried to uncover the truth, the stranger things became. The blackout of the live broadcast sent shockwaves across the world. News networks scrambled to explain what had happened. Some claimed it was a technical glitch, a convenient excuse. Others suggested government interference, hinting at behind-the-scenes pressure to shut down the broadcast. But the most radical theories suggested that Trump and Musk themselves had orchestrated it, knowing that an abrupt cut would make the event even more mysterious, fueling endless speculation. Within minutes, social media erupted. The hashtag Temple Blackout trended worldwide. Conspiracy forums analyzed every second of the footage before the cut, dissecting the Neuralink demonstration, the underground facility, and, most importantly, the words, the first participants. Who were these people? Why had they volunteered for this experiment? And what exactly was happening to them inside the temple? The only official response came from Musk himself. At 3:14 a.m., he posted on X, "Nothing can stop what's coming." No clarification, no follow-up, just a cryptic statement that sent theorists into a frenzy. Meanwhile, inside the temple, something far more secretive was unfolding. While the world debated, a select group of individuals, high-profile scientists, tech investors, and political insiders, had been granted private access to the underground chambers. Among them were figures rarely seen in public, CEOs of top AI firms, defense contractors, and even a few world leaders. Security was tighter than ever. Phones were confiscated. Biometric scans were required for entry. The press had been completely shut out. And then, for the first time, an anonymous source from inside the temple leaked a detailed description of what lay beneath the surface. The underground facility, according to the leak, was 3 levels deep, built with funding from both private investors and undisclosed government sources. Each level had a specific purpose. Level 1, research labs dedicated to human cognition, neuroplasticity, and AI-human integration. Level 2, a chamber known as the interface room, allegedly where participants using Neuralink technology were undergoing a form of guided consciousness expansion. Level 3, completely restricted. Even high-level insiders weren't allowed access. This final detail, the existence of a third level that no one could enter, only intensified speculation. What was being hidden? And more importantly, who was down there? As journalists and independent investigators scrambled for more information, new reports surfaced. A sudden increase in private jet activity near the Texas temple, with unidentified passengers arriving under extreme secrecy. Elon Musk's other companies, including SpaceX and Tesla Energy, quietly diverting resources to the temple complex. Former Trump administration officials meeting behind closed doors, with no official statements about the purpose of these gatherings. The deeper people looked, the more questions they found. And then, just when things couldn't get any stranger, a whistleblower came forward. A former engineer who had worked on the underground levels of the temple released a single, chilling message online. "You have no idea what they're preparing for." Within 48 hours, his social media accounts were deleted. His email went offline. Attempts to contact him failed. And just like that, the mystery surrounding the temple reached an entirely new level. This wasn't just about faith. This wasn't just about technology. This was something bigger. The disappearance of the whistleblower sent shockwaves through online communities. Within hours, screenshots of his deleted posts were circulating across social media, with people desperately trying to piece together his final messages. Some claimed he had gone into hiding. Others feared he had been silenced. But the biggest question remained unanswered. What were they preparing for? As speculation reached a fever pitch, something unexpected happened. The temple suddenly restricted all public access. Visitors who had been camping outside the complex were told to leave. Journalists were denied entry, even those who had previously been given tours. Private security forces, rumored to include ex-military contractors, expanded the perimeter, blocking all direct views of the temple. The official statement from the temple's spokesperson was short and vague. "We are entering the next phase of our work. To ensure the integrity of this process, we will be temporarily limiting external access. We appreciate your understanding." The wording only made things worse. What was the next phase? Theories exploded online. Some believed the temple was about to unveil a massive new technology. Others suspected that Trump and Musk had planned a major political event inside the complex. The more extreme theories claimed that human trials involving AI and Neuralink were already underway. And then, as if to confirm people's worst fears, a leaked internal document appeared on the dark web. It was a schedule for the temple's upcoming operations. And one phrase stood out. The Ascension Trials, Phase 1. No explanation. No context. Just a list of dates and times, with references to specific rooms within the underground facility. The phrase participant integration was mentioned multiple times. The leak sent the internet into chaos. What were the Ascension Trials? Who were the participants? What was being integrated? Despite the rising panic, Musk remained silent. Trump, on the other hand, finally addressed the growing concerns during a speech at a private fundraiser. "Look, folks, I know they're all talking about it. They don't want to see us succeed. They're scared. But let me tell you something, what we're doing is history. Bigger than anything before. Bigger than any of them can imagine. And when it's ready, you'll see." Oh, you'll see. His words did little to calm fears. If anything, they made people even more paranoid. Then, out of nowhere, Musk broke his silence. At exactly midnight, he posted on X. "If you fear the unknown, you'll never evolve. No follow-up. No explanation. Just a single sentence." And then, 48 hours later, something truly terrifying happened. The first participant of the Ascension trial spoke, but not in the way anyone expected. An anonymous video appeared online, showing a man sitting in a dimly lit room, shaking. His face was pale, his hands trembling. He was wearing what looked like a medical bracelet with a barcode on it. His voice was weak, but his words were clear. "I was inside. I saw what they're doing. They are changing people. It's not what they said it would be. I thought I could leave, but I can still hear them. I can still feel it. Please, if you're watching this." The video cut off abruptly. The account that posted it? Deleted within minutes. His identity? Unknown. But one thing was certain, whatever was happening inside the temple was far more disturbing than anyone had imagined. The video spread like wildfire before it was wiped from every major platform. Copies of it kept resurfacing, but each time, they were taken down within minutes. People tried to analyze the footage frame by frame, searching for clues about the man's location. Some enhanced the audio, claiming they could hear whispers in the background, voices speaking in a language no one could identify. But the most chilling detail came from those who managed to extract data from the video before it was removed. The metadata showed it had been recorded inside the temple. Panic set in. Who was the man? What had been done to him? And why was he terrified? Meanwhile, journalists who had been covering the temple started disappearing from social media. Several reporters received anonymous warnings to stop digging. One investigative journalist from an independent news site tweeted, "I was about to publish everything. Now my sources are gone. I'm being followed. If anything happens to me, you know why." His account was deleted within the hour. The public was desperate for answers, but the temple remained completely silent. Then, something even stranger happened. People living near the complex started reporting strange lights in the sky above the temple at night. Not drones, not aircraft, something else. Some claimed they saw beams of light shooting into the clouds. Others swore they heard low-frequency sounds, vibrations that made their entire houses shake. Even more disturbing, multiple residents in the surrounding area reported the exact same nightmare. They all described it differently, but the core details were identical. A massive golden dome, glowing. A feeling of being watched from inside. A deep voice whispering a phrase none of them could understand. The reports were so numerous that local news stations were forced to cover them. But every time a segment aired, it was quickly pulled from their websites. Then, in a move that shocked even those closest to the project, a high-ranking former official from the Trump administration stepped forward. He refused to give his real name. In an encrypted message sent to several media outlets, he wrote, "You're asking the wrong questions. It's not about politics. It's not about technology. It's about control. They are building something that will outlast all of us. And if you think it's just a temple, you have no idea what's coming." The message ended with a single phrase. Phase 2 begins soon. Nobody knew what it meant, but they were about to find out. The phrase, "Phase 2 begins soon," sent shockwaves across the internet. What did it mean? Was it related to the Ascension trials? Or was something even bigger happening inside the temple? The secrecy surrounding the project was suffocating. Major news networks had gone silent, either too afraid or too controlled to continue coverage. Independent journalists were being shut down one by one. And then, just when people started to think the temple's mysteries would remain hidden forever, something unexpected happened. The gates opened. Without any prior announcement, the temple suddenly allowed visitors again. But something was different. This wasn't the chaotic pilgrimage from before. There were no protests, no journalists, no mass crowds. Instead, only selected individuals were permitted inside, carefully chosen from pre-approved applications. Each person invited received a mysterious letter, signed with the words, "You are ready." Those who accepted the invitation were required to sign strict non-disclosure agreements, banning them from discussing anything they saw inside. Even stranger, all visitors had to undergo a full medical screening before entering. Why? What was happening inside? And why were they only letting in specific people? Online forums exploded with speculation. Some believed this was Phase 2, that the temple was now selecting those who were worthy of some higher knowledge or transformation. Others feared it was something much worse. Then, the first reports from inside the temple started surfacing. Anonymous sources described a completely different atmosphere compared to before. The Golden Dome, once open for visitors, was now sealed off. Guards, private contractors, not government personnel, patrolled the corridors. Certain hallways were restricted, leading to unknown areas beneath the temple. And then came the most disturbing detail. People who entered the underground chambers never came back out. Visitors who had explored the main floors reported seeing groups of participants being led downstairs, escorted by security. When asked where they were going, the temple staff gave vague, unsettling answers. One visitor, who managed to sneak away from their guide, overheard a hushed conversation between two officials. "They don't need convincing anymore. They're ready. Are you sure?" The test confirmed it. Neural adaptation is complete. No one knew what this meant. But one thing was clear: whoever was chosen to go underground wasn't coming back. And then, suddenly, one of them did. A woman, pale, weak, and disoriented, was found wandering the outskirts of the temple complex. She had no ID, no memory of who she was, and no explanation of how she got there. When questioned by local authorities, she kept repeating the same phrase over and over. "The gate is opened. The gate is opened. The gate is opened." She was immediately taken away by temple security. And just like that, she vanished. No record of her arrest. No mention in any police database. It was as if she had never existed. But people had seen her. The footage had been recorded. And before it, too, was wiped from the internet. One frame stood out. A symbol was tattooed onto her wrist. A symbol that had never been seen before, until now. Because when experts enhanced the image, they realized something terrifying. The symbol matched one of the engravings on the Golden Dome. And then, just as the internet erupted in panic, the temple's official website updated. A single phrase appeared on the homepage. "Phase 2 has begun." Nobody knew what that meant, but they were about to find out. The moment the words "Phase 2 has begun" appeared on the temple's official website, the internet went into full-blown chaos. Every forum, every news outlet, every conspiracy channel tried to decipher what it meant. But the temple gave no further explanation. No press release. No statement. Nothing. Then, within 24 hours, something even stranger happened. Several high-profile individuals, billionaires, tech leaders, former government officials, began deleting their social media accounts. Some vanished completely, withdrawing from public life without explanation. Others, before disappearing, posted cryptic messages. One of them, a renowned AI researcher who had been seen attending private meetings at the temple, left a final post before his account was erased. "It's happening. There's no stopping it now." That was it. No details. No follow-up. Just another puzzle piece in a mystery that was growing more terrifying by the second. Meanwhile, those who had visited the temple and witnessed the underground disappearances were coming forward, anonymously, through encrypted channels, terrified for their safety. One visitor, who claimed to have seen one of the ascension trials firsthand, described something beyond comprehension. They weren't just studying people, they were changing them. The ones who went underground, they came back different. Not physically, but mentally, emotionally. Their eyes looked the same, but something behind them was gone. Or maybe something new was there. More accounts surfaced. Visitors spoke of people entering the interface room with Neuralink devices and emerging silent, expressionless. Some described seeing a group of individuals standing in perfect synchronization, speaking in unison, repeating phrases that didn't make sense. One visitor swore they heard someone whisper, "The first gate is knowledge. The second gate is surrender." But what did it mean? What were the gates? And what was on the other side? Then, the disappearances began. Not just inside the temple. Not just journalists. Regular people. Individuals who had publicly criticized the temple. People who had been investigating the underground chambers. Even a few who had just talked too much online. First, their accounts would be wiped. Then, they would vanish. No missing persons reports. No news coverage. It was as if they had never existed. And then, something happened that no one could ignore. A temple participant, one of the original people who had gone underground, appeared on live television. It was an unscheduled moment. A network interview about politics had been interrupted when a disoriented man walked onto the set. He looked pale, hollow. His movements were stiff, unnatural. The host, startled, asked if he needed help. The man simply stared at the camera, his lips trembling, and spoke 4 words. "We are not alone." Then he collapsed. The broadcast was immediately cut. The network went off the air for nearly an hour. When it returned, there was no mention of the incident. The man was never identified, never seen again. And in that moment, everyone realized, whatever was happening inside the temple, it was no longer staying inside. The silence that followed was suffocating. The live television incident had shaken even the most skeptical observers. People had spent months speculating, debating, theorizing, but now, for the first time, they had witnessed something undeniable. Something was happening inside the temple. And now, it was leaking out into the world. The temple remained completely silent. No official response. No press conference. No damage control. And that's when the final leak dropped. A data breach from deep inside the temple's private servers. It wasn't a long document. No essays, no explanations. It was a single file filled with coordinates. Dozens of locations. Not just in the US, but around the world. Some were deserts. Some were mountains. Some were small, remote towns. Each marked with a date. And the first one? It was only days away. Within hours, online investigators began visiting these sites. Many were just empty land. Some had strange, unmarked facilities. But a few had something else. Strange structures. Circular foundations. Identical to the layout of the temple itself. And then, without warning, Musk broke his silence. At exactly 3:33 a.m., he posted on X. A single image. It showed the golden dome of the temple. But this time, there was something new. A second structure stood beside it. Smaller, but identical. A caption was beneath the image. "The first is only the beginning." That was the last thing he ever posted. His account was deleted. No explanation. No warning. And just like that, everything stopped. The temple sealed itself off completely. No more visitors. No more broadcasts. No more leaks. And then, one by one, the discussions began vanishing. Entire YouTube channels covering the story were deleted. Forum threads disappeared. Even archived copies of articles started returning 404 errors. It was as if the entire world had been ordered to forget. A week passed, then 2, and just when it seemed like people had finally moved on, the second temple opened. This time, in South America. A near-exact replica of the first. No explanation. No announcement. No press coverage. It was simply there, waiting. And as people scrambled to uncover what it meant, one final, terrifying realization set in. This was never about one temple. It was never about one place. It was happening everywhere. And no one knew how to stop it.